Welcome to the Castro Valley Unified School District meeting of the Board of Education for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Before we get started,
I'd like a motion to make a motion to approve the agenda.
okay, before we do
sorry.
that, Vice President Adams will not be attending tonight's board meeting. Do we have a trustee that can be acting vice president clerk for the meeting? Rocks, paper, scissors?
Well, everyone is looking to me, so I'll do it. I don't know what you need me to do, but I'll do it.
Okay, so do we have consensus as a board that Trustee Raymond will be our vice president?
Yes, please.
Yes, and so three of us support your you are the vice president of the board for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Our next item is, do I have a motion to approve our agenda?
Move approval of the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Vice President / clerk Raymond, what is your vote?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker,
Yes.
Trustee Howard.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We have passed our agenda. Are there any public comments? There are no public comments regarding closed session items as such. We shall recess to closed session. We shall be back at 6 p.m. Howdy, everyone. We're back from our closed session. We do have an item that we need to take action from closed section, and this is to revoke the suspended expulsion per Education Code 48917, 48918 for case number 04-23/24. We reviewed the staff recommendation in closed session, and we now need a motion to take action on this.
I'll move to revoke the suspended expulsion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. So with that, let me go to Acting Vice President Raymond,
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker,
Yes.
Trustee Howard,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That is 4-0. Now, Vice President Raymond, I'd ask you to read our district mission statement, which I like to remind everyone comes from our strategic directions that you'll see up there. And I encourage everyone to take a look at that to hear about our district's values.
Right. Just a quick point of privilege. I think now more than ever, it's important to remember our district's values. Thank you. Our mission statement is as follows. We work together to provide safe, challenging, innovative, and culturally responsive learning environments to ensure that all our students feel respected and supported to achieve their unique academic potential and explore their individual talents.
Thank you. Let me now describe our public comment instructions. This is a public meeting of our board, and you as the public get to view it and participate, but we have some information on how you can comment. The board respects and encourages the public to comment on matters on the board agenda and within the board's jurisdiction. The board fully supports civil discourse and requests that everyone respect each other and their point of view. Individuals who would like to address the board must complete a request to speak blue form on the back table or via the Google form online at www.cv.k12.ca.us/public comment/ and submit it prior to the start of the agenda item. At the discretion of the board president, speaker cards may be accepted after the start of the agenda item. Your name will be called and you will either come to the podium to speak or unmuted during your turn and be allowed to make public comment. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Individual speakers are asked to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes unless the board decides otherwise. There are up to 30 minutes of public comment allowed on each agenda item. With board consensus, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed. This meeting is being recorded to prepare the official minutes. To comply with the Brown Act, the board may listen to comments from speakers under a public comment, but can neither discuss nor take action on the issues presented. And with that, I'd like to turn it to Mr. Christopher Fortenberry, principal of Castro Valley High School, to give us his school report. Welcome to our meeting, Mr. Fortenberry.
Good evening, Superintendent Parveen Amadi, President Michael Kuziak, and distinguished members of the board. My name is Chris Fortenberry. I am the principal of Castro Valley High School. It is my honor and privilege to be here tonight to share with you some of the great accomplishments at Castro Valley High School. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the students and staff who have joined us here tonight. Castro Valley High School students and staff, please stand. Right. Thank you. And Castro Valley High School administrative team, please remain standing. I would like to introduce the team that works so tirelessly to make all of this happen. Mr. Kevin Baker. Dr. Tracy Fields. Miss Kathleen Stacy. And Miss Pam Wolf. And last but not least, Miss Desiree Feria, who is not here because she's hosting a parent night for our sports at the school. Please be seated. Thank you. Tonight, we will share our areas of growth and highlights from the following programs: VAPA dance class, Habit, and Special Education Special Olympics. Our areas of growth pertains to our WASP goals. 1, grading policy. We want to ensure the uniformity of our redo, retake agreements in all of our departments. And also, we want to move from a traditional grading scale to a proportional grading scale that would be more equitable for students. And secondly, we want to give special education more support. Special education students continue to be one of the lowest scoring academic groups. There is a need for growth in this area through increased academic support, professional development, and collaboration among all stakeholders. Without further ado, I will start with our presentation. And first up will be our VAPA dance class with Miss Brittany Brown.
Will you be dancing?
You'll have to come see us in action at the high school soon, hopefully. But I'm Brittany Brown. Should I speak into here? Yeah. Thank you all for having us. I'm super excited to talk about this class that took a lot of people to create. And I'm super excited that it exists now and where it's going. So a little bit about me. I'm also a social studies teacher at Castro Valley High School. And before I became a teacher, I was a professional dancer. I went to college for it at UCI and danced professionally in California and in Berlin. And so I just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time for this transition. And it's really amazing to be back in the studio after 7 years. So a little bit about the course that we've made so far. It is a VAPA course, and I did get it A through G accredited back in June. And it's focused on learning different modalities, styles, and history of the art of dance. In our class, I help students develop motor skills, coordination, and musicality, and help develop creative expression through improvisation, composition, and performance. One thing that is not on here, so some of the life skills I help students work on that I believe are transferable are observing and listening, collaboration, applying feedback, basically through like growth mindset, and presenting and performing. So those are some of the things, the tenets that I try and work on with the students. So this year is our first year. The floors are nice and shiny. And actually, the photo didn't get updated, but as of today, we also have brand new mirrors, which is super duper exciting. And some of the goals for the rest of the year is that I'm hoping to establish connections with local dance studios and local dance companies in the Bay Area to hopefully create a collaboration where I can bring other teachers in to teach master classes. Because while I feel proficient in certain styles, I'm not proficient in all styles. And I definitely want to give students as much different or exposure to different types of styles globally as I can. And then next year, we're hoping to build the program by adding another level, which the course overview should be on your way to you guys soon, or the course outline, sorry. And then we do want to host a performance eventually in the CFA. I'm hoping in the winter and spring. And then figure out other ways to continue to connect the class to the CV community, both the high school and the city. And then sort of, again, like establishing connections between like dance education outreach for some sort of like either student discount tickets or like performance opportunities that the students can go see dance. And yeah. Oh, that's it. You want to add anything? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Now we're gonna move on to habit.
Hello, Katie Stacy, Assistant Principal supporting the Science Department. And today we have Laura O'Brien. She's a science teacher and avid teacher on special assignment, as well as Emily Ledford, who is the Science Department Chair, science teacher, and also our PBIS coordinator. And they're here to speak with you today about our health and biotechnology pathway, Habit.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So we're here to talk about habit. I taught anatomy and biohabit. Right now, I'm just AP Bio, and Laura.
I've taught biotech in the past. Currently, I have a habit section, chemistry.
So some goals that we have with our pathway is to create science literate citizens, making sure that they can understand, just the evidence that's around them, make informed decisions about that. That's really a huge goal that we have. And to also build a really strong sense of community and cultural awareness, and also exposure to the fields of healthcare.
Great. So in our next slide, we're going to see some of the background of how habit started and is continuing today. You can see we start in 2004, so there are definitely gaps in this timeline. We kind of picked some of the highlights. So in 2004, we started biotech as a CTE class. In 2008-09, we added pre-nursing, which is now known as medical careers. Initially, Habit was part of our rollout of pathways in general. So we had some grant funding. We're able to do a lot with students in terms of activities, community building, field trips, internships. You can see we had some medical internships at Eden and Alta Bates through a Youth Bridges program in 2015 to 2019. Unfortunately, we have less funding for that stuff now, but we do what we can for students. We advertise what we hear about and give them what opportunities we can. Emily wants to talk about one particular field trip.
Yes, so for 2018, 2020, we participated with the Gross Anatomy program at Life Chiropractic College. And so we got to take a group of select habit anatomy students, and they got to work with the cadavers. They got to learn from college professors. They got to interact with it all. Like it was, I know it's kind of gross, but it's really, really cool. And it was just like, it's a really great experience for them to get that hands-on lab experience that you normally don't get until you've specialized in college. And they get that college experience of the actual lectures, homework style questions. And it's just a really great opportunity for kiddos.
Yeah, so you'll notice a theme of hands-on real world experiences. Med Careers was always hands-on real world experience, but officially got that designation as a CTE course in 2020. And looking forward and beyond, we're always looking for new opportunities to offer our students. We are starting a new chapter of HOSA, which is the Health Occupation Students Association. That became official this fall is one of the things that's new. And we're just going to end with some student reflections. This is just a sampling from former med career students. We could talk about former biotech and anatomy, physiology students, just because it really is about the students and the opportunities it gives them and how it helps inform where they head to next in their life.
Yeah, so first up, we have previous student Mary. Now she's a first year medical student, and she just talks with Miss A a lot about, how her experiences through habit really helped push her and give her that motivation to continue with her journey to becoming an awesome medical student.
And next we have Jocelyn, who's currently a registered nurse working in an ICU. was really inspired to pursue medical careers through Miss Anderson's Med Careers class. Super grateful. She graduated summa cum laude with honors from college and is now working as a nurse.
And then we also have a high-risk labor and delivery nurse, Jessica, and, her taking medical careers really helped push her critical thinking skills and prepare her for her work as a labor and delivery nurse. And I mean, we really could go on and on with all the students. Like I have a student who's at Berkeley doing neurosurgery on rats. I mean, Habit was really that great push to help them succeed. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Hefner to talk about Special Olympics with our Special Education Department.
Just introduced you, so I think they know who's coming. Big buttons here to push. Hello all. Hi, Miss Amati. Nice to see you again. Thank you. Arrows right there. Tech things, right? So my name is Claire Hepner. I've taught special education at Castro Valley High School for 9 years. And we tried to start to get involved a little bit more with Special Olympics. We kind of jumped. I had a teacher partner about 9 years ago. My program is a little smaller now, so I do it by myself at the moderate level program. I also have a new teacher at the mod severe level, Miss Nicole Sacido, who is outstanding. And so she and I have been working together this year. We would really love to share with you about our Special Olympics endeavors over the last couple of years. We go to 3 per year. Our first one typically is in the fall, which we just did a couple of weeks ago. We went to Foothill High School in Pleasanton, and we play soccer there this year. They rotate, reason for this presentation, they rotate from school to school in the SELPA that we are not involved in. So, not gonna lie, we would really love to become involved in the SELPA that we are not within the boundaries of which we aren't in the boundaries. So the SONC, which is Special Olympics, did I blow it right there? SONC, oh, I didn't do the updated one, but that's okay. So the SONC, which is Special Olympics Northern California, has different areas of the SELPAs that they communicate with. The Tri-Valley SELPA is involved with Pleasanton, Dublin, Livermore, etc. The folks over on the other side of the hill. Our SELPA is not that active. We would really love to get involved in Special Olympics. I am a big sports mom. I grew up with hockey and soccer and baseball and soccer, the whole kit and caboodle. And so for us to really kind of dive into this would be just so beneficial for our students. We are pushing for inclusion. This is it. Right here, this is it. When we, leadership, cheer squads, band members, students, and staff all lined up all last year, the year before, and for our soccer event this year to give us a send-off. So, our baseball players show up and there's 40 people there. Our football players show up for Mr. Fortenberry's football teams, and there's 2,000, 3,000 people. We got a full-blown send-off last year and the year before. My students fell apart. It was so wonderful. Their parents waited outside the gate here. It was so wonderfully emotional for them. They sent us off there. Social change, we didn't send this. We did not change this at all. So I changed a couple of the verbiage here that I shared with him initially, that I shared with Mr. Fortenberry initially. You all know what Special Olympics is all about. It is inclusion. It is difficult for our students to feel included sometimes because of physical disabilities, cognitive limitations. We understand that. But for them to become involved in Special Olympics opens a whole new world for them and their families. Resources become available when you walk in and you shake hands with someone at a Special Olympics event. You now have expanded your network as a parent. So it was really big. We got funding from special services for our buses last year. This year, we just got our first funding as well. I think Mr. Fortenberry and the high school paid for half, and special services paid for the other half this year. This is on one of our way back, on our way back from one of our, oh boy, was it tiring, from one of our events. We bring along staff, we bring along general education students. We, in our non-diploma track classes, the FLS, Functional Life Skills, and the Life Skills class, we partner with general education students during PE, so they have the connection with their typically developing peers. We bring some of those students with us to add the comfort level for our students at Special Olympics. See what else we have. Mrs. Rodriguez, she is one of our Gen Ed PE teachers, and she is the one who partners with us for our general education collaboration. Track and field's kind of the reason I'm standing here right now. So track and field, these pictures kind of say it all. We at Castro Valley High would love to host track and field. We have a huge, huge track and field area. I don't know what we need to do after this meeting. Mr. Fortenberry and I will chat later on, but we have, I have a big connection. I raised my children in Pleasanton, and I have a big connection with their SELPA and their Special Olympics connection. We are invited to all of their Tri-Valley SELPA Special Olympics, and their coordinator and I have chatted on numerous occasions. And we proposed to him last year that we would love to host track and field. It's on Redwood Road. The traffic, we could adjust the traffic, et cetera, et cetera. We could plan accordingly. Just want to throw it out there. This is a huge and wonderful community encompassing event, school encompassing. Everybody gets to be involved. So I don't know when this ends. Oh, we do one more event, but track and field is kind of what I was talking about here. Basketball is great. We went to Dublin last year. The year before, we may have gone out to Livermore for basketball. But as you see, the Tri-Valley SELPA encompasses many different schools on the other side of the hill. We would love to maybe bring it over the hill and try to get our SELPA, the Mid-Alameda SELPA involved. But we wanted to throw this out there and say, inclusion is what it's all about. There we are. Our gentleman, one of my students, got to read the Special Olympic Creed, which was at the beginning, and it was just wonderful. So, have any questions? You'll know where to reach me. Appreciate your attention. Thanks so much.
Can I just say one thing, Mr. Fortenberry? I just want to say that I'll make sure that you're all invited to the next event that we have where the students leave the school. And I would really, really recommend that you make available and come and over to see it. It was the first time I saw it this year. And it's hard to make me emotional, like in front of kids. And I was so, so emotional. It was so powerful, and there's so much joy. And the kids that are there to celebrate and send the kids off are absolutely fabulous. The kids that are walking down it is just amazing. It's the best feeling to be a part of. So if you can make it on that date, I'll make sure that you're invited and that you come on over and be a part of that with us. So thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, we have so much to be proud of at Castro Valley High School. It is with the work of every single staff member at Castro Valley High School that allows us to excel. It is also the leadership of the school board that lights the path forward, and of course, the leadership of our superintendent, Parveen Ahmadi, who walks the path with us. CVHS is grateful for your leadership and your fidelity to our vision and our mission. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to recognize our Castro Valley High School student. Diego de la Rosa Lede.
The governance team, along with Castro Valley High School, are proud to honor Diego de la Rosa Lede as an outstanding student. As a driven high school student at Castro Valley High, Diego is not just focused on academics. He's also passionate about internship and community leadership. His love for staying active keeps him grounded. Whether he is in the gym boxing or hitting the pavement for a run, he believes in pushing his limits physically as much as mentally. Diego recently became president of the double NCAP Youth and College Council, and last year he was the president of the Black Student Union at Castro Valley High School. He has had the incredible opportunity to organize impactful events, including collaborations with influential figures like Angela Davis. He then made and leveraged his connections to secure her visit, allowing her to speak to the youth at no cost. These experiences have deepened his commitment to social justice and empowered him to advocate for meaningful change in his community. Beyond leadership, he is dedicated to making tangible difference in the lives of others. He volunteers his time helping younger students with their homework, knowing that education is a powerful tool for empowerment. His journey is fueled by a desire to create a better future, not just for himself, but for those around him. The governance team, along with Castro Valley High School, are proud to honor Diego de la Rosa Lede.
Diego, if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to do so and introduce or acknowledge anyone.
Hello, hello. So my voice is a little raspy. I just got back from a trip, but I'll try my best. Thank you for this award, and I thank everybody who's been there to support me, whether it's my dad, my club officers, teachers, staff, administration who've helped us or helped me, my group, and my team do things we're trying to do. And thank all of you guys for trying to make a difference in the community and within Castro Valley High. Yeah, thank you so much.
And now we'll recognize Lisa May Seidel. She is our Castro Valley High School volunteer.
The governance team, along with Castro Valley High School, are proud to honor Lisa May Sadel as our outstanding volunteer. Miss Lisa May is our parent that we will be recognized this evening. She is a parent who volunteers and supports our students in both the musical and athletic activities at CVHS. You're also a teacher of music education for elementary age students here in CVUSD. You're a professional musician. You've taught vocal and piano lessons to many members of our community. So it's not just being a parent. It's not just working at the school district, but it's within the community. Ms. Seidel works with our Music Parent Society as the treasurer. She is a supporter and volunteer for both our instrumental and vocal musical programs at CVHS. Both of Ms. Seidel's students participate in our musical programs at CVHS, and Ms. Seidel traveled with our choir as a chaperone when they performed at Carnegie Hall. Ms. Seidel is also a supporter of our athletic programs and is always supportive of all of our athletes, not just her own students. She's a wonderful parent volunteer who likes to see all of our students succeed, and we appreciate all of her efforts to support the students of CVUSD. The governance team, along with Castro Valley High School, are proud to honor Lisa May Seidel.
They have some. So I have my husband here and my two sons are actually home sick tonight. They wanted to be here, but we thought it was better for everyone that they stayed home. With 2 graduating seniors, we've been doing a lot of reflecting about our time here at CVUSD and are truly left with a feeling of just gratitude for the many opportunities that Owen and Gilbert have had here. They started at Palomares, they went on to Canyon, and are now at the high school. We think of the watershed program. It was amazing during our years there, the mariachi program, Science Olympiad, and they are so involved in both music and athletics. From elementary all the way through, and the amazing programs at the high school. And yes, they both had the opportunity to participate in Les Mis, which was amazing. But this has been combined with an equal passion for athletics. And I think that their team and just everyone around them, they're just so supportive of each other. And they just create this incredible bond, both in their music communities and in their athletic communities. And I think it's the time in athletic and arts that provide that camaraderie and that standard of excellence and the chance to work towards a common goal as a team. It really help build the individual character, but also that community effort that you want going forward. Those activities fuel our passions and provide a lifelong space to nurture our creative souls. And it is in these spaces supported by remarkable teachers, dedicated staff and coaches, many, many volunteers, where amazing friendships develop and flourish and where we learn to interact with the larger world and develop the leaders. So we thank you.
Now let's go to our board if there are any comments or questions. Student trustee Fatima.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Thornberry, for the presentation and our staff. I think that the addition of the dance class was very exciting to hear about, especially for our students who participate in dance outside of school. I think that it's nice that they can also like take part of that inside school. And I think that the Special Olympics send off is like one of my favorite things to do and participate in. It's super heartwarming. They're always so excited to see us lined up and like cheering them on. And so it's really nice way to like send them off and like get them going with the Olympics. And I think that hosting it at our school would be really exciting. I think that would have a lot of like a great turnout. I think a lot of people would come to it as well. And it would just be a great way to like involve our community in something that other communities also do. And then also congratulations to Diego. From knowing you personally, I can definitely confirm you're the type of student and type of person that was all written on the paper, and keep up the good work.
So thank you for bringing so many people to talk about so many wonderful things here tonight. I took a lot of notes because I'm excited about all of these programs. I just want to say, Ms. Brown, when I learned that we didn't actually have a dance class, I was honestly really like shocked and sad because I was a high school dance student. Like that's what I did for PE. I did dance at my high school, and my high school let me do that for PE. We'll talk about that later. But I am. Like all of the things that you listed in terms of how being a dancer sets you up for moving through the world, literally like gracefully through the world, like figuratively as well, is true. And so I was very glad when this program got off its feet here. So thank you for putting your time and effort into it. The Habit program sounds incredible. I think anytime we can entrust our students with the responsibility of something as serious as touching a human cadaver, I'm totally serious. Like I think this speaks volumes in terms of the character of our students. And that this is an opportunity that's been made available to some of them, really remarkable, and how lucky they are to have teachers who are able to say, hey, here's a cool opportunity. Let's go make it happen for you guys. So thank you for the efforts that you all put into that. Ms. Hepner, thank you for sharing so much about the Special Olympics. I've never known very much about the Special Olympics program, and it was interesting to find out that participation is kind of based on the SELPA. And I don't know what we need to do on our end to help our SELPA along with that. But and I can't obviously speak for all of us, but I'm speaking for myself. I'd love to know what I can do to help. And Ms. Wolf, I would love to attend a send off. So please, I'm going to hold you to that invitation. I would love to be there. Thank you. And I'll wrap it up. But Diego, I I remember hearing about your Angela Davis event and just thinking it blew my mind. I mean, what a fantastic. She's just such an icon with so much knowledge to impart. And I mean, I was so, I got I have the chills right now thinking about these students being able to speak with her directly. There's no shortage in this world for advocacy, especially in the social justice world. I will tell you, it will beat you up and spit you out, but you're still going to want to keep doing it. There are a lot of us up here who have put our own, hearts on the line in that way in many ways over the years. And I'll tell you, it's never not worth it to take a stand for something that's meaningful to you. So thank you very much for sharing yourself with the world already in that way. And Lisa May, thank you also for everything you give to the community and to our schools. I mean, I think we're just lucky that you're also one of our teachers, so we don't actually lose you and your kids graduating. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Fortenberry, for bringing your programming here tonight. Just so many good things are going on at the high school. I love it.
Trustee Whitaker.
Hi, Principal Fortenberry. Nice to see you. You know what I love about the high school is that this is just like a minor glimpse into everything going on at the high school, all the clubs, all the activities, like things happen there really early and stays out really late. And it's a community space, right? Every one of our kids gets to come through Castro Valley High School and experience Castro Valley High School. Really appreciate, Miss Brown, you bringing dance. Art is so important, but there's different types of art and some called you and some really don't, right? But when you find that art that calls to you, there's like nothing else that matters. And to be able to have that performance art and express yourself in a different way, I mean, it's beautiful that our kids are able to experience that. So thank you so much for your dedication in that space and creating a space where people can actually express themselves in the way that they need to and want to. I was also in dance in high school. Probably wasn't that good. And then I also, science is so important. And creating an environment where kids, I mean, he's a doctor. He did science in his career. And I work for a biotech company, right? And being able to create the workforce of tomorrow and share that there are jobs and opportunities for people to go and create things to help others is just, thank you so much for your service to our kids. I mean, helping them see that in that space is really going to help set them and our society up for success. So really appreciate that. And then as Hefner with Special Olympics, I'm quite aware of Special Olympics. I can't wait to see y'all's proposal of what that might look like for us and how we can support our kids. So let us know what that looks like so we can think about it. Love to hear your ideas. And then Diego, I know a lot's been said, but I also want to say community work, just like dance, but it's different. When you love it and you have a passion for it, it's like it drives you. You want to take care of other people. And we need people like you to continue to drive that home for us and continue to protect others because we need more people to protect us all the time. As much, I think it's a misnomer that people think, oh, well, the world's getting to be a better place. It's always, none of us have lived throughout history. It's something that humanity has to relearn and we have to reteach ourselves. And just knowing that we've got someone like you in our community doing that, I can't wait to see the great things you do, right? You're going to really impact a lot of people's life and you already are. So you should be really proud of yourself, and I know your dad already is. You can tell. Is that your dad? Yes, okay. And then Lisa May, we're really lucky to have you throughout our community. You know, when we speak about Castro Valley being a great place to be, it's because of the investment in our community by so many people. I like to tell people Castro Valley is becoming a community I want to live in, right? It wasn't always a place I would say that for, but I would say that now because of the communities that our school brings together and the people within it. So thank you so much for your service.
Trustee Howard.
I'll just echo somewhat what Lavender just said, and that is that there's a lot of moving parts over at the high school. It's a huge, complex, complicated place. I'm glad you're there to take care of it.
Thank you, sir.
And you know, you gave 3 reports tonight, and they were really pretty fascinating, I have to say. You know, the dance one, for example. I knew we had dance. I assume this is from Prop 28 money, which is really a good deal, thanks to the state's voters. I knew we had it, but I hadn't thought much about it. But I can see that really is something that it was a hole in the fence. So I'm glad you're there doing it. That's important that our students have that opportunity to learn another facet of art. That's great. And the science, the habit, I've been around that for a while, I guess, with Laura there for sure. And you know, you use the term science literacy, and I think that's really sort of, to me, encompasses everything that you were talking about. I mean, these days where immunization rates are dropping down into the mid-90s now, and this is a time when we need to educate our kids as much as we can in the sciences, but also give them the opportunity to enjoy the sciences. They are as fascinating as dance, maybe more so.
Books about it.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And the Special Olympics, I think that's a great thing. I mean, Parveen was talking about that a couple of years ago, and it's great that we're getting into that. I think that and it's moving along, and I guess our friends over the hill are a little ahead of us on that, but you know, I think that's okay. We can go play ball with them, and I think that'll be tremendous. I think that's a great thing to do. So thanks for your report, and to Diego and Lisa May, congratulations, and thanks for all you've done for the school over there. Thank you very much.
Superintendent Amadi.
Not to repeat a whole bunch. Yes, it is Prop 28 and it is exciting. I love dancing, and I just saw today when I was looking at the new mirrors, and the floor looked so beautiful, and just expanding it even more is so, so important. And I love what you're thinking about moving into, and the diversity of what kind of dance is, and it's just incredible. So really excited about that. Obviously, habit, just reading through what the kids said is all you need to know. The power of creating opportunities for kids where they have that hook and they continue with it. They're now supporting other people. They're actually in the medical career, but it's just amazing. I was telling Mr. Kuziak that had you been in their class for science, you would not forget anything, because I've seen the teaching that goes on there. It's just amazing. And the connection with college and the workforce. Special Olympics is really important to me, because what you saw over the hill took a lot of years to develop. And in fact, I have one picture in my office, and it's the students that I had in the Special Olympics there. So we had Val Williams actually worked with them since last year to see how we can make this happen. It is a SELPA thing, so we've got to get the rest of the SELPA on board. Until then, we need to continue to do what we're doing. It's a lot of work. You have to be accepted and all of that. So it is in progress. But we'll make it happen. But at least our goal was this year to have that one event here so that we could see what it takes. It takes a lot of work, but it's absolutely the best thing we could do. So we'll make it happen, and I think it's important for us to see. But it is in the works. It's just, we've got to get the 4 other districts on board. Diego, what you heard about Diego is just a tiny bit of this young man, because I've been fortunate to know him, to work with him. He's on the District Student Leadership Alliance. He's also, when they started working, you and Naomi and a couple of other kids who started working with our elementary students, the Black Student Union. In fact, you guys are doing the Ruby Bridges Walk. They're working in so many ways to improve just this world. It's incredible. So you have every right to be so proud of your son. And we're just so grateful to have him because he's just a unique, incredible young man that's just going to continue to change this world. Miss Lisa May, I remember you 10 years ago when I got here, always with that beautiful smile on her face and always helping. She was in the PTA, I think you were PLC, all of that. And I want to say, your twins are incredible. So when you went to Les Mis, the young man, right, who was the main character, I was just like, who is this kid? It's unbelievable. Yes. And his brother, his twin brother, was in the orchestra. So what an opportunity. But she has been amazing. And I'm so glad to see her now teach elementary school. I'm going to end by just thanking Mr. Fortenberry, the leader that you are, the connections you have made with every single kid is just phenomenal. As we walk through Castro Valley High School, he knows kids. Hey, how are you? How's it going? And your leadership matters. Your team right here, your admin team and the teachers who work so hard, it's such a collaborative group of people who all care about what happens to the kids. The teachers, the classified, the office staff, everybody. But I just want to thank you for your leadership and all of you for the work that you do to provide such great opportunities for our kids. Wait till next year, they're going to come back and talk about that culinary program that's being built, right? So thank you so much.
It's really with pride to serve on this board, to be, a part of a board that gets to support Castro Valley High School. It really defines so much of our community. And when you speak to people outside of Castro Valley, they'll talk about that Castro Valley High School kid that you meet. And there's just something very different and unique. There's like some special sauce. You might have the secret ingredient to it, but don't share the recipe. But there's just something wonderful about the community that you see and experience, and seeing it through the lens of my son, who's a student there, is just phenomenal. And I really do think, as we talk about the different programs we have there, for the limited resources we have as a public school district, we truly have programs that rival a magnet program anywhere else. And maybe that's something for us to reflect about and to think about. And I am curious, I do have a question for you, and I will say some other things as well. As we bring 8th graders and transfer students into the high school, how do we make them, with the wayfinding, how do we guide them to these different pathways? I'm overwhelmed to think about that, right? I would never have thought to take a dance class. In fact, you wouldn't want to see me in a dance class. It would be entertaining. But I'm just curious to know, like, you're an 8th grader, like, how do you know? Like, how do you know I want to grow up and be a nurse, or I want to dance?
We have several events that we do. We do 8th grade family night.
Hmm.
We, as kids are enrolled, we have a link crew that bring them through orientation. Mr. Maloney, who's sitting right here, he sponsors a club day on campus throughout the year. So we have all these events to get kids connected in. And when they come into the office, one of our main things as counselors and admin, first thing we ask is, what are you involved in school? It's the first thing I ask a kid when they come in my office. So what are you involved in? What do you like? And I think that's the message that comes from everybody on my administrative team and everybody on the staff. So once we get to talking to kids, we talk to them about who they are. Because the first thing they want to, I'm going to the principal's office, I'm in trouble. No. Let's put that aside first. What do you do here? And then from there, we can build by connecting them. And that way we can keep them from getting in trouble or being mischief, right? They have some energy. They have some things in their head they want to share out. We have a lot. Me and Ms. Amadi was there today and we were just talking, and Castro Valley is full of a lot of kids that are incredible, just given the opportunity to share that incredibleness that they have inside. And that's what we try to do, is foster that.
Yeah, my sense is like these pathways aren't so rigid. I grew up, I've shared my own story growing up in Virginia. We had tracking. It was pretty racist. It was pretty obvious who got to have certain opportunities. And it just seems like we have something very different here that is open to opportunities for every kid to go into different directions. So I really love that. And that brings me to Diego. The summer of 2020, when you were not at the high school, it was the activism of our high school students that got me through that horrible time. The activism that I see, particularly with our Black Student Union, it warms my heart to know that you're mentoring and supporting our younger kids. I was hanging out with the Black Student Union combo Canyon and Creekside last year, and it's just wonderful to see their enthusiasm, not only just for their identity, but also what activism is about and why it's important. So I want to encourage you to continue in that quest and support. I did have an embarrassing time where I did do Pilates right next to Angela Davis. That was funny. I was like, "Is that her?" And but I'm so amazed that high school students at Castro Valley High School know her legacy, know her power, and want to learn about that to build power for our students, for our community. Lisa May, I think your family is fantastic, and I love all the investments that you've made in our schools. We are on the verge of a new generation of kids really excited about arts in our Castro Valley schools, and I can blame you for that and your support of that program. And I want to thank you. I was so confused; I didn't realize you had twins until like we got involved with band, and I was like, what? They're same but different. Like it was so confusing. But we're fantastic kids, and baseball, the band. We are lucky to have had you, and I hope that we can find a way for you and Matt to continue supporting our Castro Valley schools when they have both graduated. And their baseball story, I just want you to know, I talk to my son a lot about your sons and baseball, because my son is really into baseball, about what you can be when you move through and a program like that and really commit to that. And I just want to thank, hearing about the Special Olympics, hearing about a dance, and hearing about the Habit program. Again, that speaks to sort of our very diverse ecosystem. And I want to thank you all for supporting that. You have my support. We talk about inclusion a lot in this venue as a board, and it's something that should just be the standard, right? And so I want to thank you specifically for your advocacy in ensuring that. Mr. Fortenberry, do you want to turn back to you if you have any additional words of wisdoms, if you want to make any additional shout outs to your staff, if you want to dance, maybe, do you clog? Do you like tap? Is it modern?
So her students walk up to me, not daily, but very frequently, and invite me in because I was in her class for a presentation. So now they're like, when are you coming back, and bring your shoes?
I've seen you do a cheer. You got rhythm.
I have some work to do.
No, I mean, there is a there.
Yeah, I have some work to do. No, I don't have any words of wisdom per se, but I do want to thank my team for working with me and supporting me and giving me the help I need, because you're only as good as your team that work with you, right? Nobody's doing this alone. It's a group effort, it's a collaborative effort, and we work together to achieve the things that you see. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, but we work hard to make it go right. And we just want to thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Well, what do you all say at Castro Valley High School? In Trojan togetherness?
Yeah.
Very good. So let us go now to our student board member, Fatima. How are you doing? Got a report for us?
Yes, I do.
Bring it on.
Okay. So at Creekside this month, they're celebrating National Native American History Month. And they're doing that they're doing a walk-in museum at the school during lunch in one of their cafeterias. So they're gonna showcase Native American artifacts and just share more about their history so students can learn more about it. At Chabot, they're also celebrating National Native American History Month by learning all about the important people and history of the Native Americans. At Stanton, one of their upcoming events is Stargazing Night, which is on November 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. And families and students are all coming for free. Their school also marched in the light parade that happened on Saturday. And at CVE, they had their school-wide ofrenda up for the past weeks in their cafeteria for everyone to look at. And on November 14th is going to be their first annual Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day in order to honor the power of dialogue and monuments built by young people. And at the high school, in progress, we have our canned food drive, which has been going on for a couple weeks now and going on for next week as well. And our first ever night rally is going to be on Friday. So yeah, that's it.
What's a night rally?
So it's similar to usually like the rallies that we have at our assemblies with just like a lot of fun games. And then this time we're just going to be introducing a lot of the teams at our school. And it just supposed to be super fun and exciting and like a way to engage like our students more with different activities. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your update.
Thank you.
Superintendent Amadi, for your report. What's up?
What's up? Let's get the presentation. I've got a couple of things. Next slide, please. Thank you, Amy. There's something that happens every 4 or 5 years. It's called Federal Monitoring Program. And I just want to give a shout out, kudos to Ms. Rashichi here, who led this entire team for months. There were how many instruments? 229 things that the group comes to look at, that we have to prove that we're following what we're supposed to be doing and doing a good job. And they left saying, we've never seen anything like it. I'm so proud of this team. It's incredible. And, just the whole time putting all this together. This was a collaborative effort between educational services, business services, and human resources, getting all of these documents for them. And they were here for 3 days, visiting 2 of our schools, Stanton and CVE, and just were blown away. So I want to thank you and just say bravo to our team. Our schools shined at just so bright at the light parade. It was absolutely beautiful. For the first time, every single one of our schools were involved. And it was absolutely magnificent. This was the first year, I believe, that they also had like vendors and everybody. It was a big deal. And I know Mr. Howard is very involved with that because he's on the chamber board. So that was Chamber of Commerce.
You hear the Creekside
Oh,
mascot
I
launch?
sure did. And I saw you and Miss Raymond. It was really, really awesome. It was just a beautiful community event. So I want to say just a couple of things about honoring American Indian Heritage Month, because we have all of these things that happen. Like in September, we have something, October, November, December, January. But this month is the American Indian Heritage Month. So next slide. I want to show just a really quick video that I shared with our team here.
Hello, I just introduced myself in my language, Lakota. My Lakota name is Oyate Trecha Omani, which means walks with young people. I also go by Frank Juan, and I'm a Sichangu Lakota hip hop artist. The song you just heard tells my story and the story of where I come from through music. Most of that story wasn't pretty or easy, but now I'm telling that story to the world, and I want you to hear it too. I was born and raised on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, one of the poorest and most underrepresented places in the country. I was living in somewhat of a bubble. In 2011, I left the Rosebud Reservation to go to school in Chicago. It was a culture shock, not only for me, but as it turned out, it was a culture shock for others as well. I remember one day in the elevator of the dorm I lived in, a young lady skipped the typical elevator small talk, and she asked, "Your hair is really pretty. What are you?" I said, "Thank you. I'm Lakota. I'm Native American." She looked at me confused and she said, "Aren't you guys extinct?" Stories are important. They shape our views and how others perceive us. We're either a part of the national conversation or a long lost figment of history books. To the woman in the elevator, I was extinct. But back home, where I'm from, our story would say otherwise. Our story is overflowing with culture, passion, and life. Our story is so much more than a paragraph in a textbook or a token role in some movie. We're more than a box to check off or a footnote in history. I'm proud to be a voice for Native people. I'm even prouder to take the We Day stage and speak on behalf of the Lakota Nation. But like every other change maker in this room, I wouldn't be here without a strong support system. As they say, it takes a village, and not to brag, but I think the village behind me rivals the best. My mother, my grandmother, my aunties, they're the reason I'm on this stage. And when I left home to study in Chicago, there was one more woman who helped me tell my story. I was in a culture, race, and media class at the University of Columbia in Chicago, and I was much too shy to say anything in class. But the professor, Claudette Roper, refused to let me stay silent. And week after week, she would chip away and encourage me to share a little more, and she would make space for me. I was the only Native American in class to share who I am. And by the end of the class, it was the first time I had felt represented like I had back home. To the teachers out there, you do make a difference in your students' lives. Thank you for hearing my story. Thank you for hearing my truth today. Never be afraid to raise your voice and share your story with the world. Thank you, Wide.
So as we think about honoring the Native American and just remembering that, just like he said, I'm not going to repeat it, but I do want to click on this song. He is an artist, and it's just a beautiful song. We're just going to listen to just a little bit before we go to the break, and we'll play it during the break.
Well, really, family is the most important thing. And I always say, you know, you don't have to have money and fancy things to be happy and have a good home.
Yeah, born on the rest, raised on the rest. Say a prayer for my family sitting in the feds.
So we'll keep playing it as we go to the break.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It really makes me think about when you think the call of action of ethnic studies, it's really about hearing stories of people that maybe we haven't been exposed to, and that's why I'm proud that we're implementing it. With that, we're going to go on a 5-minute recess, opportunity to take more photos, say hello to each other, and we'll be back for the rest of our meeting in 5 minutes. Thank you. Bye. I'll let you sit. We are back. Just seeing if we have online anyone from CSCA or CVTA to make comment. They are not here to make comment. Do we have public comment for items not on the agenda this evening? We do not. So the next is our consent agenda, for which I need a motion.
I'll move approval of our consent agenda.
I got a 1. Do I get a 2?
I second that motion.
Excellent. Let's vote then. What is your vote?
Yes.
Vice President Raymond.
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker.
Yes.
Trustee Howard.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, it passes. We have approved our consent agenda. Now let us go to reports, discussion, and action items. Our first one is our California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, so we, thank you for
Love the
President
energy.
Kuziak. So tonight,
Can you bottle that up for me?
tonight we have David Luongo and Avi Scoot. Going to talk to us about our CASP results, talk about some of the results and some of the actions that we're taking as a result of those results. So I'm gonna hand it off to Mr. Luongo.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you all tonight, as it always is, to talk SBAC. And as you may know, we'll review a few things at the beginning. SBAC sits within CASP, and then within CASP, there are 4 categories within the state that get tested. We do the first 3. The 4th one is not something we do here. But for tonight, we are going to be focusing on ELA, which is English Language Arts, and mathematics in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 at CVHS, which we just heard a wonderful report from. And again, we had more than 4,600 students taking the SBAC last year. So let's dig into some data. These first slides go over district-wide. This is the entire district. So for English Language Arts, you'll notice on this particular slide, from 2023 to 2024, our scores went down by 2% in English Language Arts. I'm going to move rather quickly, and then after I present the data, Afi's also going to kind of share some of the reflections from the data and the work that we're going to be doing to address and improve and grow and learn from. In math, you'll notice that we stayed the same for the last 3 years. And so from last year to this year, 58%, 58%. This is math for the entire district for those grades 3 through 8 and then grade 11. So consistently year after year, we do see that we do significantly better than the state of California and even across the county. The average for the county, we are above. So you'll see that we're at 66%, where the county is at 55, and then California is at 47. Math, similar, 58, 47, 36. And then this also has the science scores on it and you'll notice 11 percentage points above the county for all of those categories. When we do a comparison to local districts around us, you'll notice that year after year, it's not shown here over multiple years, but we've looked at the data over multiple years. We're pretty consistent with Alameda. And so here you'll see both of us in ELA are at that 66 percentile. We're 1 percentile point above in math, and then science also similar. And then the districts that we're consistently doing better than, these are in alphabetical order when you look at the chart. Hayward, New Haven, and San Leandro, you'll notice that we're consistently higher in all categories. And then Dublin, Pleasanton, we are below their averages in our district. So digging into the data specific to elementary, we're going to start with English Language Arts. You'll see that 6 out of our 9 schools in the elementary schools either stayed the same or increased. So for example, Marshall on the chart, you'll see over the last 3 years, 67 to 69 to 70. So we saw some good growth there. And then 3 out of the 9 schools decreased for elementary schools in English Language Arts. For elementary math, similarly, we had 6 of our 9 schools stay the same or improve. So you'll notice, for example, Proctor, 73, 76, 78 improvements, steady increase over the last 3 years. But 3 of our 9 schools did decrease in this last testing cycle. Just want to note too that the scores that you'll find on the California dashboard do not include, are not updated with last year's test scores yet. They'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. So if you do go back to dig into it, You'll see the year before, it doesn't have this most updated data yet, coming in the next couple weeks. So then secondary ELA, so English Language Arts at our secondary schools, you'll notice that all of our schools slightly decreased this previous year. And we wanted to note that on CVVA, it looks extremely drastic on there. But due to the number of students that tested, it was below the number 11 threshold. They withhold the data because of privacy confidentiality purposes. So the score wasn't actually that score. It's just there's no score, but so it's more of an NA because we had 10 students test in English and 9 students test in math. So you'll notice that it says 0 for CVPA for this past year. So for the next year, we just got to make sure we hit that 11% students tested threshold, and then it'll show back up on the chart.
Is our overall enrollment in CPVA down, or is it just how the cohorts?
It's just how.
It's just who took the test. It's just who took the test. Okay.
And a note to that, it's full-time CBVA students that get tested and qualify in that category. It doesn't include the part-time students. Yeah. And only 11th grade.
And you can opt out.
Correct.
So
Curious. What's our opt-out rate? I mean, do we see
Good
pretty?
question. We can look in. Yeah, we could check out.
I mean, overall, I mean, do we see high levels?
Not at our the opt-out where we see the highest opt-out and participation the lowest is at Redwood. But we meet the threshold of 95% at all of our other secondary schools, except for CVVA as well. Secondary math, we had 2 of our schools increase, 2 of our schools decrease, and then we had the CVVA dynamic. Again, same information. And then moving into our line charts, you'll notice on these, this first chart is ethnicity related to English language arts. This is again, whole district. So this is all of the 3rd through 8th and 11th for the different ethnic groups that you see mentioned. So African-American, Asian, Hispanic, white, 2 or more races. Really positive trend here from last year to this year. All of the ethnic groups have increased on this particular chart. You'll see growth in all of those areas. When we move to program groups, you'll notice that it changes a little bit. So for our English language learners, the blue line EL, that decreased. Our SED, or socioeconomically disadvantaged students, slightly decreased. And our special ed students stayed the same. That was for English language arts. Now we'll shift over to math. And again, similar trends with our ethnic groups. Everything increased. All the student groups increased in this area. But when we go to our programs again, we see similar patterns as before. Our English language learners decreased from last year. Our special education students slightly increased, and then our socioeconomically disadvantaged students slightly decreased. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Ms. Skloot, who's going to dig in a little bit more to the data.
So as David said, we did have an overall 2% decrease in language arts, and we maintained our performance in math. Excitedly, our biggest growth was among our Hispanic Latino students, who showed an 11% gain in language arts and 16% in math. And then we really kind of were drilling down on the data, and we noticed that in math, the outcome gaps, in other words, the difference between our highest performing group and our other kids, the gaps are decreasing from 2021 to 2024 for our African American and Hispanic Latino students. So up here or in front of you are some of the ways that we are supporting our ELA and ELD instruction. As you know, we talked about, we are implementing UFly across the district in all K-2 classes. Our biggest focus this year, though, looking at the data, and it's not just CASP data, but even local data shows us that our biggest group where gaps exist are among our multilingual learners. So one of the things we're highly focusing on this year is ensuring quality instruction during designated and integrated ELD time. And we're doing this through professional development, through coaching and modeling from our EL mentors, And then our data walks and talks that Ed Services does with our principals. We have them, David's in the middle of them now. I have them coming up after Thanksgiving, is focused on specifically on our multilingual learners and what we're doing at sites to be responsive to their needs.
Could you just help me with that third to fourth one? Quality designated and integrated ELD instruction. Is that an area where maybe there's not as developed curriculum or instruction? I mean, can you kind of help me understand why that doesn't already exist?
So the difference between designated and integrated is integrated instruction is what you're doing in core curriculums. So bridging, modeling, using realia, those kind of things during science, during math, during social studies, during English. Designated ELD time is actually English language development with just your multilingual learners done in small groups of students that's separate from the curriculum. So to address the question you're asking, our biggest need is among designated ELD instruction. That's where the teachers feel the least confident and we need the most professional development. There are no good curriculums. So luckily, we have a director of multilingual learners who is focusing heavily on this. This is what our focus is specifically when we go into sites, when we're doing our data walks and talks, is what are you doing for designated ELD time? That was a good question. So for our math support, in addition to staff development and coaching and modeling, we are also developing K-5 trimester math assessments in order to calibrate our scoring and grading practices across elementary schools. So David and I both talked to principals at the sites where we're seeing decreases in scores because we wanted to find out, well, what are you doing to be responsive to the data? And some of the things that are happening at elementary sites is that they're increasing or reallocating RTI staffing. And by that, I mean that they are using their RTI time to be responsive to our multilingual learners and to also focus on math. So our RTI in elementary schools is heavily focused on language arts, and we're starting to talk about, okay, how are we going to get math? What are we going to do for math? There are after-school interventions being provided for our multilingual learners, and then supplemental materials to help meet more kids' needs. And then among our secondary sites, they're looking at improving their RTI systems to make them more effective, diversifying novels to better reflect our demographics. And then at Redwood and CVVA, which is what you were kind of talking about, Mr. Kusiak, is that we are beginning CASP testing earlier to be able to provide more makeup opportunities and increase our participation in the testing. And that concludes our presentation, and we'd love questions.
Any questions from other members? Vice President Raymond, Acting Vice President Raymond.
Sounds so strange. Okay, so I don't know if this is a comment or a conversation. I don't know. I, as a student, really struggled with standardized testing. And as an adult, I still struggle with the very idea of standardized testing. And as a parent and as a board member, I'm like, what is, I guess when we look at these numbers and we're seeing like a decline in them and we're trying to think, okay, what do we do? What really is like our end goal here? Like, what do we, like, what are the tests? Like, if you were to say these tests represent like one or two things to us, like what exactly is that?
So I hear what you're saying as a parent, as an educator. And so I can answer personally what I believe. And that's when I look at the data, what I'm more interested in is actually our dashboard data, which David was saying isn't out yet, because what it actually shows is not just overall percentages, but growth. So you're looking at progress and growth. And so if there is, for a school like CVE, where I used to be principal at, where we might not have 78% of the kids meeting standards, but are they growing? So we would be blue on the dashboard, which to me is a bigger indicator, like we're making progress, no one's stagnant. And I think that CASP testing, I mean, we have to do it. It's a requirement. But what we try and look at it is how it's aligned to what we're doing. in the classroom and the other assessments that we're doing.
No, I appreciate that. And I guess another thing that I also worry about when I look at this data, not the dashboard so much, because also I think the dashboard also is probably more useful, in terms of like measuring where we are and where our kids are. I look at the data and I hear the data and I see, oh, we're going down. And how do we respond without putting us at a risk of placing our teachers in a position where they're, quote, teaching to the test?
Let me add to the conversation. I think it's really important that the SBAC data is a snapshot in time. And we really look at multiple measures across the board. So we're looking at SBAC data, we're looking at the dashboard when the data is available. We're looking at our local measures, as Mrs. Skloot was talking about, for which we have lots of data. And then our teachers have classroom data. And I think the important piece that happens at schools is really about the collaborative conversations that teachers and administrators and RTI specialists are having around data to make informed decisions about, okay, so this is what all of these data pieces say, because each of our schools have their own school-wide kind of like dashboard of their own specific data. And they're having those collaborative conversations about, okay, so how did we do and where do we need to, like, what does our, what do we need to do around, okay, these students got that. So what do we need to give to them? These students, they seem like they're almost there, but they're maybe what we would talk about back in the bubble and where they just need still a little bit of boost. And then we have our students that really need some intense intervention. And those are the important conversations that are happening at our school sites on a daily basis. And then both Mr. Luongo and Mrs. Skloot set up throughout the entire year data walks and talks. And so sites are talking about data, and then district and site is talking about data, and then we're planning together. And I think that's probably the most important thing that we can do with any types of data that we get from, looking at multiple measures and having those conversations and then making decisions about intervention, acceleration, and first and best instruction.
So, yeah, I just want to say the elephant in the room is when we compare ourselves to
Pleasanton
others.
and Dublin.
And I can tell you, let's just be honest. We can spend a lot of time, like you said, teaching to the test, which is what we don't want to do. That is something that some people care more about, which is why, for example, there are districts that changed their grading policy and then they took it all back. Because what do you mean everyone has another chance? So it's really like, what is important to us? Do we want learning or do we just want to teach to the test and practice? And in all of my years, I've seen time after time where kids, instead of doing what they need to be doing after school and all of that, they're in tutoring clubs all afternoon because it's important for us to finish that test and be at the top. And if you remember, during COVID, the state actually tried really hard to push back on taking this one snapshot of a test. And we were allowed to use local measures that we have, which is so much more accurately reflecting what the kids are learning and are able to understand. But that we couldn't continue that because this is actually a part of the federal government's requirement. So when we sit here and say, so it's a part of ESEA, that is one of the things that's in question, right? So, and it's like, we have to take that test in order for us to do this, to get our funding. So it really is, but at the same time, it is important to look and see because we have places, like I looked at Marshall this year, right? There are things that are working. It's not just about that one test. So I love the fact that we have such focus on local measures that you guys support. And I think that presentation we did last year, I think after this, it was like during the second semester of local measures, but we did it as a study session, was really powerful and very helpful to the board and to all of us to really look at data.
Thank you, everyone.
I just want to add one other thing to piggyback on what Nia said, which is So we don't teach through the test, right? Research shows that the three most effective things that can happen in schools to have an overall positive effect on students, which ultimately increase scores, are collaborative conversations, which are done through our PLCs, interventions, which is done through RTI and MTSS, and first best teaching, which is what the classroom teacher does. So what we're doing is bolstering those systems to be responsive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always the risk, that it's going to turn into, oh, what's our number going to be? And,
Yeah.
like I'd way rather see like that growth, like you're saying, like, are we blue this year?
Yeah, right, right.
Seeing some like, yeah, development happening. And that's why like I see these tests, I'm like, it's like I don't opt my kid out, but
Yeah.
I also don't see the utility all the time in doing it. So
Yeah, I get it.
I'll put that hat somewhere else for now.
Trustee Howard.
Well, I think you guys do a great job. The teachers, the administrators, and everybody here with the learning environment. And that's what the local measures show, I think, which are much more accurate than this. I mean, our students graduate, they go to college, they finish college, they get jobs, they seem to be doing just fine. Most of them for sure. So I've been watching this data for 25 years. Basically, I think there's some places where you can draw some conclusions, but not many. And if you look back here on one of your slides, I think it said 47% meet standards in English statewide, 36 in math, 31 in science. You have to wonder
Yeah.
what is this test testing that half to 2/3 of the students in California can't meet standards? I mean, either the teachers in the state are criminally horrible or that something's wrong with that test. So, I think there's a very limited amount you can draw from it. Different test every year, different set of students. I mean, come on. But, I think what really matters is I think kids who go here get a good education. So I'm quite confident about that. And I trust the local numbers way more than these tests. So thank you for all you're doing.
I want to just add, if you remember, like I can't even remember when the class test stopped. I was still teaching, but class test, it was a performance test. And it actually really was amazing. But they took that back because it cost too much money. It was too much time and we don't have the means. But that was a performance test. I remember like we had to set up the classroom and the kids were actually able to like show what they knew. All of these things go back and they're just tossed away and something else comes. You also have to see the amount of money the company that does this test makes billions and billions of dollars. And to say we don't want that test, I mean, half of the states in the nation use one company and the other company.
Sounds like it all
So
works to me.
it's just really great.
I seem to remember before we moved back east, when I was 10, didn't we do the STAR test in California? Yeah. STAR test. Yeah.
Yeah, the ITBS. Yeah.
So my observation, I would say, Trustee Howard, it seems like it's probably pointing to, when you see those deltas, it's probably pointing to some socioeconomic things that like the test is not picking up. So I that yeah, precisely.
Outside of what something else out.
Yeah.
That kids are at risk.
Yeah.
In socioeconomic. Do it.
Truest.
Well, it's also, I mean, not only there are different learnings, like how kids do things, but it's also if you face trauma and you're under stress, what that can do to the psyche.
Mhm.
And if being informed about what kids face and being accepting of that is such a thing that we don't integrate currently in, the laws of our land for kids. But we know that positive interventions are so important for our kids, right? And you're not going to because you give a positive intervention, it's not going to take away a trauma that a child faces. Childhood trauma lasts throughout adulthood, right?
Welcome to my adulthood.
And you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So it's how do we continue to teach our kids resilience, processing through things, and give them the positive interventions they need is so imperative. Like the conversations that we're starting to have with kids about having healthy conversations, right? The integrations that we've had around having social and emotional supports. I mean, we're fighting against stuff and trauma. I mean, they say that 50% of people face trauma in their childhood. I'm off on the numbers, I'm sure, but right. So that's also something to think about when we're thinking about learning and how we treat kids. Is not everyone is going to respond the same way because of so many other factors. And how do we do our due diligence to ensure that we're trauma informed?
I appreciate what you're saying there, and I thank you for that reflection. I think that's important to hear. Afi, I want to make an observation, then I have a question. So in the days of yore, right? George W. Bush, No Child Left Behind, Erdie Duncan, and all the things that he was doing. It doesn't seem like we're as obsessed with standardized testing like we were then, which I kind of, Trustee Raymond, or Acting Vice President Raymond, I just wonder, like, I don't really worry so much about the negative impacts of it, other than these tests do come and go and regimes come and go. And, there have been mentions of, linking a success to merit, merit increases to success of students again. So that kind of scares me.
As a mom who would hide her my daughter's SBAC scores from her because she didn't do well on them. She is a junior in college, in college with a straight A GPA, and has gotten into teaching programs. So she's going to get her bachelor's in teaching credential in 4 years. So that tells you the value. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. And we're trying to get her a student teacher. So
I'm curious to know, when you look at these scores, what's the intersection when we talk about equitable grading and our grading practices? Does that inform that conversation at all? If we're hitting the mark there?
Yeah. So because you really can't do retakes on the SBAC, right? But what it has, so there's been lots of conversation about that, is, are we setting up our kids because they can't do retakes on the SBAC? But what we have the conversation about is that, again, it's the emphasis on our local measures. That's really what, as a site principal, and I know as other site principals, both in elementary and secondary, we look at our local data. It's more timely, really, because by the time we get this data, our kids have left. Some of our fifth graders are at a whole new school.
Promise, this is my last question then. So, real estate agents bug me when they like go to niche.com or whatever, and they're looking for a number. If we're saying that these local measures are important, how are we publicizing them in a way so that real estate agents or, helicopter parents are seeing that information? Can we do something in telling that story?
So we still, like, if you Google great schools, or look at one of the elementary schools, we still are considered, we get really high scores still. So it's not based just on those scores. I think they actually look at dashboard data because there's also comparisons of what they call like schools. So with similar demographics, and we perform really well in those areas. I don't know how we would publicize local measures.
Yeah, so in the past, they used to ask me to go and present. But they compare, the same comparison chart that you used is what they share, and we always look much better than other people. But I have to say, none of this has impacted all these people who have come to Castro Valley, and the prices of homes shooting up like crazy because people are more realistic about looking at more than just that score. When we had the API, that's what they use, API score. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I remember
sidewalks apparently don't matter.
Yeah, even when in another district or where I live, when the boundaries changed and this side of the street went to this high school and that side of the street went to that high school, overnight, $150,000 prices went up and down because all people talked about was the API school. And of course, now it's flip-flop. So they don't, I mean, honestly, they look at all of the different programs you have, the conditions you have, what you have for kids, all the different options. So
I always appreciate getting this opportunity to reflect on these data. Thank you for going through it and guiding us through that. And if there isn't nothing else to be said or heard, thank you. Thank you. Let's go next to our next question, our next report discussion action item, which is enhancing communication strategies through data insights.
this is, I'm really excited to, we're excited to share this with you. So Miss Kayer has worked really, really hard trying to, she fixes it for everybody. So we wanted to kind of share with you what she's put together based on some of our social media and the efforts that we've had. So Ms. Kayer, look how cute that is.
Not my presentation.
No, it's not.
I'm so sorry. Let me turn that off.
It's okay.
Shall we sing a song?
Let's do that.
Let's play that song I played. You just love that. Yeah. So while she's trying to get the presentation up and running, you know, she works really hard behind the scene to get our message and communication really out to the families. And I think you will see what the results are.
Okay. So, this is a little overview of analytics. I'll say there's way more you can dive into, but I'll say I started out with a brief overview of what I think might be the most important information for us as a district to kind of look at. So why do analytics matter? It looks at engagement, the way we do our social media content, the way we use Parent Square, the way we use our website. Also, I've also included data now for our YouTube, for all of these meetings that are being posted and how many people are watching after the fact versus currently during. I feel like all this data will at some point give us an opportunity to talk and say, what's a better option? Maybe we shouldn't do this versus maybe we should do this. So this is just a little tidbit of information. So starting out with EdLeo, which is our district website. Now this is just the main district website. I did not go to every school site, but it's just overall. I've compared 22-23 and 23-24. Pretty consistent, top 5 pages visited, front page, of course, instructional calendar, events, enrollment, and job opportunities. Those were the top 5 web pages that everyone visited. Top 5 languages, which are also consistent with how we translate our information for our district. That was interesting, and how people are using our platforms. Almost, a little over 50% are all on their phones. So making sure that whatever we send or whatever communication we send is really mobile friendly. I mean, that's data that tells me, like, doesn't necessarily have to be in an email, but just making sure it's mobile friendly. Parent Square, we started back in during COVID. 2019, 2020 is when we started. Currently, we have about a little over 12,000 parents with emails in our system. And almost all of them have opted in to receive emails. And about 8% are also getting our text messages, which isn't bad. I mean, if you think, you have to think parents with emails as a mom and dad, potentially. It could be a mom and a grandma. It could be whoever signed up for these notifications. So if you think maybe half of that per student, potentially, it's not bad. Could be better, but it's not bad. So this just shows overall how text messages and how people have increased in getting the app over the last few years. So it wasn't super popular in 2020, 21, but now we're a little bit higher in our percentage rates for people using the app. Now we're going to get into our board meetings. So since we have started doing Zoom board meetings for 22-23 and 23-24, we consistently have around 20 to 24 meetings a year approximately. And on average, right now, it's about, I'll say 24 people watching online. I wrote down these notes because I wanted to make sure it was very clear. Typically, every year, we have 1 to 5 board meetings that are very popular among the community to chime in and see what's going on. So if you really think about it, these numbers are fairly skewed because there may be one board meeting with over 100 people attending. And then there's board meetings like this evening, there's only 2 online. So it kind of gives you, yes, overall, the average is 22 to 24.
Hello, whoever's online.
Yes, right?
We are glad they're there.
Right. And they are 2 employees, so thank you. But so it kind of gives you a little bit of misinformation, I feel, because we have had meetings where there's hundreds of people online. But it's good data, right? The other thing that I've really noticed, because I monitor how many public comments come in online, not in person, but since we've been really also doing online for both. It's less than 1 public comment currently online. So not a lot of people are choosing to comment online. Maybe they're choosing now to come in person, potentially. Since we've been, every board meeting since COVID, 2019, 2020, is on YouTube, on the district's YouTube channel. So this just shares how many videos are online. We don't stream all of the board meetings, of course, so like the special board meetings aren't included in these numbers. And then this is an average of how many people view it after the fact. So once it's on YouTube, once people go in and look, maybe some people are notified they follow the district's website, YouTube channel. This is how many, on average, how many people are watching it after the fact. Again, the number for 22-23 is slightly skewed. We had 7 videos with over 100 views that year, and we had 1 video over 3,000 views. So it's a little bit different. For 23-24, we had only 2 videos, with over 100 views. So it really depends. If you take out those numbers, probably maybe about 20 per view after the fact, right? Okay, Facebook. Now we're getting into some social media. So I broke it down by number of posts per year since we kind of really, I'll say, dove in harder with social media. The reach that we're getting, the content interactions, and then also the Facebook visits. So 21-22 is where we kind of we're starting to get our feet wet with everything. And we've kind of ramped up and gotten a lot more reach and a lot more Facebook visits this last year in 23-24. Content interactions are likes, shares, comments, that kind of thing. We just started Instagram. I want to say it was beginning of 22, so 21-22, so not great data to pull. So 22-23 is where we kind of started again to dive in a little bit. You'll see the growth for this year was tremendous, I think. You also have to remember, which I kind of was thinking about, Facebook and Instagram are a little bit different as a user. Facebook, people go in, they like our page, they want to follow our page. Instagram, I feel like you don't necessarily do that. You'll search for somebody. That's what I do personally. I'll search for somebody, but I won't necessarily follow them. So I think that that's kind of showing some of the data. People, we may not have as many followers, but people I think are searching and obviously interacting and visiting our profile. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. Unfortunately, you have to pay for all your analytics now, thanks to Elon Musk. So I couldn't pull as much as I'd love to, but I was able to see, when I post on social media, I try to do all 3 platforms consistently. Sometimes things don't, I'll say, go to Twitter X as much because it may not make more sense. Like it's a condensed version. It doesn't allow all the pictures sometimes. It's a little bit harder to work with, I'll say. But this last year, again, way bigger engagement. Not sure why for post impressions. Granted, it was maybe, triple the amount of tweets. But we have 807 followers. I think that's pretty good. I don't know. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Sarah, it's Vice President Raymond. Sorry.
Easy stop. Oh my God. Okay. I think this is great. I think communication is so important. And even though some of these numbers feel like, oh, that's really low, it's still worth doing, I think. And I think that I think it's commendable that we've continued to put our meetings up on YouTube, for instance. I think there are districts who have stopped doing that. To me, this is about transparency. It's about visibility. It's about keeping access to this process open, for the public. So I think that this is great news. I like it a lot.
Trustee Whitaker.
Thank you. Amy, I just want to say, I know that this has been a huge lift and continued integration. I mean, you really made this something, you're creating access. And you've done it, and you've done it so well. I mean, numbers speak for themselves. You've really done a really bang up job. It's great to see. I mean, and no surprise. I mean, parents are normally older, so Facebook makes a lot of sense when you're thinking about age use of certain platforms. It makes sense, right?
Our typical Facebook user is a 35 to 54-year-old female. So you know.
Yep.
But I know a lot of our high school students are on Instagram, for instance, and like the clubs are using it, and they are seeing the district posts, and they see my trustee posts, and it's so it serves another population and another piece of our people who are responsible for here.
I just wanted to thank you for all of your efforts here. I mean, we've seen such a dramatic investment in how we're communicating. We're seeing a website, I think, that is really becoming a much enhanced space to find information. I'm assuming analytics is helping guide you on how to do that. I think something to be proud of is like, I don't think we should be in the comments section. Like, I think we've kind of, the golden age of social media was probably about a decade ago. And I wouldn't want to relive those experiences again. So figuring out the best ways just to get information out to people as best we can, I think is a very important endeavor. Maybe we should be on TikTok. Trustee Whitaker.
No. No, thank you. No, thank you. I do not want to be on TikTok. I also want to say, when we try something out in this district, we test stuff out, we innovate, and stuff evolves over time. We learn and we grow. And the pandemic was like, everybody just guess what? You got to be online. You got to learn from it, right? We are in a small community. We got a newspaper. This is lovely. And there's not too many ways to communicate, that people want to follow us, right? Unless you're a parent or you're involved or things like that. So it just, you've helped innovate, and it's taken time because that's what we do. We test stuff out and we see what happens. So I just really appreciate everything you've done.
Despite what we might hear from some naysayers, I do think that our district is the most consistent communicative government agency in Castro Valley. I mean, we provide this information, and MAC meetings are inconsistent. Like, I think they've only been on Facebook, and they've had challenges getting a county staff to support them, to broadcast them. Yeah, but I think, as a board, we decided, we were making a decision about this investment here and whether we would continue broadcasting. I think it's important in the absence of a robust local media that's doing rigorous reporting on what's happening in your local government. Let's put it out there for the people to figure it out. So I think that's a good thing.
again, I want to thank Amy for all of that work. And I think we can always find new ways of communicating, but what I really love also is Amy is always like monitoring social media. And there are times where we respond and there are times where it's important not to respond. And I do appreciate you as we visit schools talking about, use social media to create community versus destroy community. I think
Pretty
there's a
harsh
big
words at these PTA meetings, sorry.
It's like, don't waste your time, going on there and just repeating everything and making it. So I think we've been very thoughtful and just kind of decide what we want to spend our energy on. And I want to thank you, and thank the community for actually, getting on our Facebook and sharing information. I'm like looking at what they're looking for, instructional calendar, enrollment and things like that. But I want to say, I was just looking at the services website and it just looks alive and nice. So thank you for that.
I want more memes, Ms. Kayer, more memes.
More meeting. Thank you, Amy.
Definitely more memes. I think it's also just like things that are like more engaging to like people my age. And it's like I feel like it's like being more in like older people, not older people, just maybe older people just being more in touch with like what our generation like, because we're like on social media a lot. Like that's like where like we always see everything, like especially in leadership, like we advertise mostly on like online and social media. And so I think it's just like figuring the way of like figuring out like what we like interact with most and then kind of being in touch with that as well. And I feel like that would like really help get our audience as well too.
Thank you so much. See you on TikTok. No, no. So let's go over, Teddy would be happy to coach you on that. But let's go now to board member comments and reports. Fatima.
Do we have to approve our personnel report first?
Oh, I totally forgot that one. Hey, let's approve a personnel report. This is the action item.
I will move that we approve it.
Got a one? Got a two? Okay, let us go to Vice President Raymond.
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker. Yes. Trustee Howard.
Yes.
And I support it as well. So that is passed 4-0. Sorry. Okay, now let's go back to board member comments. Do you want to say more stuff? You can totally say more stuff.
I don't really know what else to say, but it was a great meeting and thank you, Miss Amy, for the presentation.
I saw your former trustee, student board member, Miss. Well, I see her all the time. I saw Hanson, Quentin. Yeah, he was. We were hanging out the Boba Bliss together. My son and I are rather obsessed with Boba Bliss right now, and it's great to see him. Vice President Raymond.
Speaking of former student board member Quentin Hansen, I did note, and I think this was a nice thing to remember, that his voiceover is still being used at the Center for the Arts to tell people to turn off their phones. It is so funny and so effective, and I hope it is there in perpetuity. And I hope that he knows that that is a legacy that he has left with the district. Okay, turning to my own list. Not that any of this was legacy making I did this week, but I wanted to share that I was able to visit Vanoy a couple weeks ago. I think it was actually on Halloween, but I went specifically. I was invited by Erica Camacho, who is the librarian at Vanoy, and she also heads up a really incredible Dia de los Muertos project on campus at Vanoy. When I was a Vanoy parent, I would help her with it. And in the years since she started doing this in just one classroom, then 2, then 3, it's now for the whole school. And this project is amazing. I think if any of you are interested next year, you should try to pop in to one of the classrooms when they're working on this. She would be more than happy to show it to you and to walk you through. It takes an army of parent volunteers for every classroom to make this happen. I can't tell you how many pounds of sugar and meringue powder they have to use because they actually, all the students make their own sugar skulls, then they decorate them together. And they bring pictures of loved ones who they've lost. They make a ofrenda in every classroom. And the kids get to present to their class and parents and teachers about their loved one. And it's such a, I so appreciate Erica's effort to share this tradition with the Castro Valley community. And I think it has done a lot of good for our kids. So I wanted to just share that with you guys. I also was able to pop in at another, I think, very positive thing that our parents are doing in the community. And that was I stopped by the Proctor School PTA food distribution. They do this every 2 weeks. They have food distribution. I was told that on average, they have 200 people come through per visit. It's quite an elaborate collaboration that they've put together with the Alameda County Community Food Bank, and a really lovely gift to the community that they provide. I also got to participate in the light parade. Creekside invited Mike and me to sit on their golf cart floats, and it felt a little like awkward, but really, really fun to participate and be around all that joy with the kids in the community in what has been also a fairly challenging week for a lot of people. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So a few people have mentioned tomorrow's Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. I was invited to meet a contingent from my neighborhood that walks to Vanoy, and I'll hop in and see them off tomorrow morning, and I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, thank you to everyone for all our hard work, for everyone in the schools.
Trustee Whitaker.
Yes, I have only represented the district. Last night, I was lucky to meet with Susie, Sharon, Superintendent Amati, and Trustee Howard for the Facilities and Budget Committee. Great conversation. Really looking forward to bringing some more data to the board later in the year. But we have a really good, hardworking team, really assessing a lot of stuff and figuring out how to share that with the community and the board.
I have like 45 days left in the year, you know that.
That's not counting weekends, so.
Of school year. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. The Budget and Facilities Committee meeting yesterday was really good. Didn't last a long time, but it got a lot done. Last Thursday evening, I was at the ROP board meeting, and that went very well. All is calm over there. Enrollment is way up. I don't know whether I said that the last time. The enrollment, they're bursting at the seams over there. So that's all good. And of course, several of us were at the light parade. That went very well. We think about 15,000 people. That's what the sheriff thinks anyway. And then the one other thing that I did in the last week that was pretty interesting, I have to say, was I attended a planning session to develop a 5-year strategic plan for the County Office of Dental Health. So all I have. Thanks.
I hope you floss. Okay. It was fantastic being at the light parade, and I got to hang out with Roar. That's the name of our mascot at Creekside, who won the dance off with the other mascots. That was quite an adventure, walking up and down the boulevard. That was quite fun. And I remember the first year that Miss She was here. It was like 10 of us in the Creekside group, and I think we may have had more people than Canyon. It was great.
Creekside contingent won the Judge's Choice Award.
It was so much fun. We had this wonderful blue ribbon, and
How was your parking?
thank you. Had primo parking, so thank you for that. We had the opportunity. Yeah. I know, right? But then you would have gone to a fight with other people who were trying to get the parking. And then last night, Superintendent Amadi and I went to a very well-attended Creekside parent teacher. Are they a PTC? Well, we went to that meeting last night and the wonderful engagement from the parents there. I kind of I had my conversation about middle-aged people on social media and why that's bad. Sorry. But it was really good to be there. You know, and kind of related to that, you know, it was kind of bittersweet. I've been reelected. I know we don't generally talk about politics here, but I'm happy that I'll have the opportunity to serve 4 more years on this board. I know more votes are coming out. And I'm grateful that there was a contested election because democracy is a key thing that drives my community service. Democracy is a really important thing. And I'm absolutely terrified. And I'm going to be honest, as a parent, as someone who cares about this community, who cares about our kids, I'm concerned about our LGBTQ youth. I'm concerned about our immigrant families in this community. I've heard comments have been raised to me about concerns about their safety. And, you know, I'm not trying to get lost in my own imagination of what could happen, but I know what has happened, right? And I know what I am hearing. And Vice President Raymond had made some comment about how this really puts into focus what the purpose of our service is. And I think we're in for a next few years where we're going to have a lot of moral gut checks, if you will. And what I love about this district is I believe we're already set up for success to support our kids. And I hope that we will continue that focus regardless of how we may be bullied. We may be shamed for doing what's right for them. So I'm grateful to get to be here with y'all and with this team that we have present here in service to our community and our kids and let's make sure that we're here to support them. Vice President Raymond, yeah, absolutely.
I've neglected that your comment reminded me that I wanted to mention that I believe it's November 20th is Transgender Day of Remembrance. There will be an event in front of the Alameda County Office of Education in Hayward that evening. I would hope that even if you don't plan to attend that event, that people find some way in the next week or two to provide some allyship.
Yeah.
I think our LGBTQ kids, our trans kids, and other community members especially need some support right now, more than ever.
Thank you. And I hope that we can all make an effort to be there. And I appreciate all the thinking that all of us are doing. And with that, it's end our meeting.